Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of Depot's Den. You're probably wondering, why the heck has Evan not been able to post any videos on Depot's Den for a very long time? Yes, I know. I've been really bad about it. Haven't done anything since the Super Bowl. We're not going to talk about the Super Bowl because that was a very long time ago, and that also had a Chiefs victory. So obviously, I am going to be sick and tired of hearing about it and talking about it. So I'm not going to go there. But as in my absence, changes have been shown for sure. Changes in not only the Bills, but also changes with the Sabres. We'll get to the Sabres in a little bit, but right now we're going to kind of stick to what's happening with the Bills. Whole new wide receiver room is really what I kind of had to look at it when you have only just one person really from last year that caught passes from Josh Allen, which is Khalil Shakir. There is a crazy amount of turnover coming into this season. Now, I think that the absence of Stephon Diggs is the big issue right here. The big issue is that you know you don't have wide receivers that maybe you could trust, or at least at the moment you're not too sure about. And I think that for any Bills fan, I think that if you are able to understand, hey, that this is going to be a turnover period, so the Bills may not win the division this year or like in September. And you know what? That's kind of okay because this is going to be a really tough season for the Buffalo Bills. They have to deal with like I said, the changeover at wide receiver, changeover on defense, losing a lot of key pieces. But I still think that with what the group that the Bills have, I still think that this is a 10-win season, at least 10 wins. Um, right now, as we're looking at it, the Keon Coleman is going to be stepping into a situation that any rookie would want, because a rookie does like, you got a rookie wide receiver coming in here with arguably the second best quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to be looking for you to be able to kind of be like the X factor receiver, or um that's going to have the ability to make plays down the field and be a game changer like a Stephon Diggs. Do I expect it out of rookie camp, or do I expect it out of his first season? Probably not. But here's the thing. I feel like that this wide receiver room has a little bit more depth. And yes, there's only so much you can spread the ball around. I'll get into more of that coming up later. But I really wanted to look at how great of an opportunity Keon Coleman has now that he's going to be working with Josh Allen and is going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and going to be working with someone who is really, really good at wide receiver. And again, if you want to leave a comment or have a question for me, tweet at me at Evan Depot 2, or leave a comment in the comment section. I'll see if I can get to it. If not, I can always do it in my next episode, which I will make sure that I do that, because that is something that I have not been good about. Trying to do more, trying to get back into the flow of things, especially with rookie mini camps passing, and then now into OTAs, and then mandatory mini camp is going to be coming up soon, and then eventually we're going to be back at St. John Fisher, and then we're going to be starting the preseason, and then we're going to be back into the regular season, and we're going to be talking about football. But I'm sure for any of you people that are like, don't start thinking about fall when it literally the weather's just getting nice, I won't. I know we're getting close to the unofficial start of summer, as I call Memorial Day. Will be good. I won't jump too far ahead, but as a sports fan, you want to, everybody's waiting for the Bills season to start or for the Sabres season to start. We'll get into the Sabres for sure coming up later in the episode. But I think that Keon Coleman is going to be the biggest story heading into training camp, just like how last year Dalton Kincaid was really the big story that people wanted to hear about and want to know how he's progressing, yada, yada, yada. I think that he is going to bring some speed that the Bills have not really had or haven't utilized. And I think that speed is going to be a huge factor in why Keon Coleman is going to make this Bills roster even better. I think that the addition of Cole Bishop, their second round wide receiver, is going to be another huge factor. I think that he has the ability to possibly be a starter, but also at the same time, if he isn't starting, I think that Keon Coleman can, I mean, excuse me, geez, well, I'm not talking about Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, excuse me. Cole Bishop has the ability to learn under guys like Taylor Rapp and Mike Edwards, who are really good safeties. And I expect those two to really be the starting safeties coming into September. Now, we don't really know the status of Micah Hyde. He did say in a press conference not too long ago it was either going to be with the Bills or he was going to retire. And I have a feeling he probably is more on the end of he's going to end up retiring, which is okay because this man is literally one of the best, you know, he's going to be one of the best safeties ever. Him and Jordan Poyer were the best safety duo in the league for years, since 2017. And if whatever they do in the new stadium, they're going to get inducted together. Like if they do a Ring of Honor or a Hall of Fame, they're going to get inducted together. And I think that that's really important. You know, if Micah Hyde comes back, I'm not sure if there really is a spot for him. I think that they would find to make a spot because of how special he is, but I wouldn't be too shocked to see if Micah Hyde ends up, you know, calling it quits, which is okay. I mean, I think that having someone of his caliber on your team, and even if you want to add him into, like, say, a coaching role, I think that that would be a really smart and fun idea if you get Micah Hyde, if he's going to come back to the Bills. I wouldn't be upset if he was just on here as like an added roster bonus, and or a coach that could, you know, really be able to help out these young players. That's what I look at it from that standpoint. I wouldn't be surprised if Cole Bishop does end up getting into the starting lineup. If obviously if there's an injury, I expect Cole Bishop to be the next guy up, or if the Bills try to use a dime package, um, I see him starting possibly next year, if not this year. And I think that that's a big move by the Bills, is getting a safety that has versatility and can be able to produce for the Bills. But again, I would not be surprised if Cole Bishop ends up making it onto the Bills lineup. And another person that I felt like could really, really do a good job with the Bills this year would be, I wouldn't be surprised if Cedric Van Pran Granger, their the center out of Georgia, he to me looks like he could be the next your next center, the guy that's going to be snapping the ball at Josh Allen. And I think that that's vitally important for Josh to, you know, be able to have someone that he can really connect with. Right now, as of right now, they are having Connor McGovern as the center. I wouldn't be surprised if he beats McGovern out and you move McGovern back to left guard, because that's really where he kind of has to be. I think that it could be a possibility that we start seeing a possible competition at center. And I also think that, I mean, I don't think that David Edwards, who is expected to be the next left guard, I don't think that he'll lose a job or like he'll be like a roster cut, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up, back to the role that he had last season, where he was basically reported as eligible receiver, extra lineman. But right now, I do see it as of right now with how the lineup is construed on the offensive line. I do see Connor McGovern in the middle, along with Deion Dawkins, and all like their starting lineup was healthy the entire season. Nobody missed a game. And I think that that's really what is important. I think that having depth really on the offensive line is going to be what's important. And I expect Van Pran Granger to be the next guy up to be under center for Josh Allen. I think that he will either be the center this year or in 2025. That's kind of my bold prediction looking at this roster right now, that Cedric Van Pran Granger will be the starting center come 2025. And I think that I'm not sure what else is going to happen. Obviously, we'll have to wait till next year, to the end of the season. That's months away, and I'm sure none of you want to even think about the end of the season, because hopefully a lot of people want the end of the season to end in confetti. I do, for sure. um Leadership is something that I see this rookie class having. The pass rusher, I can't think off the name off the top of my head, that came out of Duke, that the Bills selected, a 4-year captain. That's something that's very rare, especially in college football. And I expect him to be a leader. I don't know if he won't, I don't think he would get named a captain, but I think that what we could see is eventually over time him showing his leadership and then possibly being awarded a captaincy. Um, I do wonder for the Bills with OTA starting, what the situation is going to be like with defensive play calling. I do want to know how, if Bobby Babich is going to end up being the play caller. Sean McDermott has not made it official whether he's going to call plays or whether Bobby Babich is going to call plays. That hasn't been decided just yet. And I think that I think it would be a good idea. I know I'm saying I think a lot. I'm working on it. That Bobby Babich should be the team's defensive coordinator, and he should be calling the plays on defense. And if he needs some help from Sean McDermott, it's not like he's never done it before. Remember, he was a defensive coordinator and he called plays on the defense last season and did a pretty damn good job with it. So I think that if we're looking at it, if I'm the Bills and I want to see some success out of Bobby Babich, and that's probably why Eric Washington left. He was kind of given this role as not an official defensive coordinator. He was still the defensive line coach and like a defensive assistant, but he didn't have the ability to call plays, and that's probably why he left. I think he left for Chicago, if memory serves me right. This is going to be, I think, something that the Bills should have to do. They have to make Bobby Babich the defensive play caller for this season. Again, if you're listening, or if you end up listening to this when it gets uploaded on a podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, I will make sure that Depot's Den is up later after the show, and up, and maybe you can even listen to it in the morning, because I know I am recording this at currently 9:51 p.m. But I do feel like that Bobby Babich is going to is going to be the team's defensive coordinator. And well, obviously he's the defensive coordinator, but he's going to be the team's signal caller. All right. Now to some comments that I got before the show. I put out a tweet at Evan Depot 2 of asking, what do you expect? What do you want to know about this Bills team? I got a couple replies from a couple buddies of mine at from my college, my alma mater, Buffalo State. Chris Giacobello, he says, "How do you feel the wide receiver room will be, and what are my stat predictions for them?" I wrote down just like a few notes, just nothing too crazy or too major, but I do see Curtis Samuel kind of leading the way in the receiver room, and then he'll be your kind of your team's number one for the majority of the season. And then eventually, towards the end of the season, I could see Keon Coleman really kind of taking that step to now he's the number one wide receiver, and Curtis Samuel will still be on the field, but I think that he won't be the number one target or the number one wide receiver like a Stephon Diggs. I think that Curtis Samuel will lead the team in yards. I think Coleman will be I think a solid year would be maybe 800 or 900 yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns. I think that would be something important because Coleman right now is like the Gabriel Davis replacement. He is going to be the guy that gets you the touchdowns, and he brings speed that Davis didn't really have. And I think that that's what's really important. And I do think Shakir will be the next Cole Beasley. I think that Khalil Shakir is not only is he's even better than Cole Beasley, because when Cole Beasley, he got the ball and then he just he would more so fall down. You never really saw yards after the catch when it came to Cole Beasley. And I'm not trying to disrespect Cole Beasley. I think that he's great, but right now I do see that. Right now, I think that it would be a smart idea to really get Shakir will be your Beasley, but also he will get you yards after the catch. We saw that towards the end of last season where Shakir was really starting to lead the Bills in yards, and I think that that's what's going to happen is that Shakir is going to be your number 3 option. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's your number 2 option to start the season, or even your number 1, because we don't know what Curtis Samuel will bring. But right now, like I think with Shakir being the only guy on the Bills really in their wide receiver room that has experience working with Josh Allen and has had success with Josh, I think that that's going to be really important. I think there's going to be a lot of breakaway speed from Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or MVS. I think I just will call him MVS. I he comes from an offense where he won 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. I think that it's a good signing. It's not like a splash signing. I think that right now we're getting to a point where you're trying to fill over 100 missing targets, and that was coming from guys losing Stephon Diggs and losing Gabriel Davis. There's over 100 targets that you lost there, but I think what they're trying to do is everybody's going to have their small little piece of the pie of what they want to do and what they expect. And everybody, I don't expect there to be a true number 1. Maybe Coleman in the next few years, but as of right now, I still predict that he's just a rookie, and I think that Coleman can work his way through. I do see Chase Claypool making this roster. Some people probably don't, but I do. This guy was a first-round pick, and I'll say this out right now. He is going to be playing with the best quarterback he's ever had, and that includes when he played with Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, his rookie season when he played with Big Ben, he was great, and I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that he is going to have a bounce-back year. I I think that he can earn himself a contract, whether that's with the Bills or with someone else. But I think that this is going to revitalize his career. I mean, look at some of the other players like John Brown and Cole Beasley and even Stephon Diggs. Some people probably thought Diggs wasn't as great, but when you pair him with Josh Allen, I think that that's what's going to be most important. Um, and also, so that's what I expect really from the wide receiver room. I think that they're going to be having five guys in the wide receiver position rather than four like that are starting. So Chris Jacobello, give him a follow at C Jacobello. That's CGIACBLLO 17 on Twitter. No, I will not call it X. I don't care. I will till my dying day. I will still call it Twitter. I got another comment from my buddy Frank Lopez, Frank 516 Lopez on Twitter. He says the possibility of using a two tight end system with Knox and Kincaid. I don't really see that. I don't really see a two tight end set with Knox and Kincaid because I felt like when Knox was off of the field and Kincaid really started to take over, like, hey, I'm the number one tight end. And will they do it? Yes, but I don't expect two tight end sets and 12 personnel was really the idea that the Bills were trying to emulate last season. And I just don't see that really happening. I don't see that really happening. I think that Kincaid will be your number one tight end, but I don't really see it seeing a lot of two tight end sets. I could be wrong. I'm not really in the building, but I'm just giving you my opinion from what I saw last year when Knox went down. Kincaid really started to take over as the number one tight end, and this is going to be our first time to be able to see Joe Brady run his offense the way that he wants to, because he really he was on an interim basis. So if we're looking at it, I think that Kincaid will be your one and Knox will be your two. And I don't think that really Knox has the ability to be better than Kincaid, I guess is the right word I want to use. But Knox is clearly going to get on the field. They're paying him a lot of money. They're not going to just not have him on the field. I just think that the that that Dalton Kincaid is going to get more snaps and get more targets. And I think he might lead the team in targets. I think that he could have a Travis Kelce like season, maybe 1,000 yards, maybe close to it. We'll see. Again, there's only one ball to go around, and how many people are going to be able to get their hands on. That's going to be the important part. So that is really what I feel about what's going on with the Bills right now. I will get into what's going on um, with the schedule. I'll do that next week, and I'll actually pick the schedule and give you my thoughts on the schedule for the 2024 Buffalo Bills. But I wanted to get into some hockey. If you can't see it, I'm wearing my Sabres t-shirt, my goat head. Love the goat head jerseys. The Sabres bringing back Lindy Ruff. Now, I don't think that this is really a nostalgia move. I think that this is a move where you were looking for a head coach, and I think you found the right one. Will he end up being will he take the Bills out of this playoff drought? Yes. I am firm with that thought process. Yes, he will get the Bills out of this playoff drought. Not, oh my goodness, the Bills. I'm still hung up on talking about football, I guess. But he will get the Sabres out of this playoff drought, and I would expect it to be this season. The Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs. I still think that they might be still a wild card team. But I expect the Tampa Bay to maybe fall off a little bit because they looked old. I'm not going to say Boston is going to fall off or not because I have died on that take last year and probably in the years past, and I just won't do it. I will not say that the Bruins are going to fall off and miss the playoffs. And I think that Lindy will bring the discipline that maybe Don Granato didn't. And I think that that's what players really wanted in their exit meetings was we want a guy that can, I think that can bring a lot of uh, tenacity and it's not like he hasn't coached players. Like remember back in 2006 when it was you had Pominville, you had Vanek, Gostad, and Drew Stafford, Ryan Miller. This is a young team. He can coach young players. And also, don't forget, he did lead the New Jersey Devils to a 100-point season, who were the second youngest team in the NHL. He got fired because he had bad goaltending. I'm not going to really put that on him. But I do see like 52 wins from 27 wins. 112 points is what Lindy Ruff helped the New Devils. And he has a team with talent and just needs some different pieces. And I think that those are going to be coming up in Rochester when you see like Yuri Kulik, Isaac Rozan, Devin Levi. I expect that to be your 1-2 punch. Now, UPL, I think that right now what we're looking at is he's going to get the majority of the games, but I think that it'll be a pretty even split between UPL and Levi. And I think that players like Alex Tuck make this team better. And I can see the resemblance from this 05-06 team. Now, will they make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals? I don't predict that because the NHL is very difficult to win. And, it's a very young team and a very playoff inexperienced team. But he knows how to adjust with what he has. He has had success everywhere he's gone. Have they led to Stanley Cups? No. But he knows how to, like with Dominic, when he had Dominic Hasek, he knew that he can rely on his goaltender, play a little bit more defensive style, but also be a little bit more aggressive because he knew he had a rock in goal. And when they led to and that led them to an Eastern Conference final and a Stanley Cup final. And then when he got all this young talent, he's like, oh, I'm going to use this to my advantage. And he did. And I think that that's really what's going to be so important for Lindy Ruff and this team going into next season. And I think that Ruff wants players to love being in Buffalo. And I think that we're starting to see that now because of the turnaround that we're seeing. And, Ruff said that at his opening press conference. I think that he will take this team to the next level, but he only signed a 2-year contract. My expectations are with this team is that Ruff is going to coach for 2 years. And then I think the job's going to be open for Seth Appert, unless Ruff wants to keep coaching, which he's on the older end of the spectrum when it comes to some older head coaches. And I think that what will happen is that he's going to coach for the 2 seasons that he's there. If he wants to keep going, I think he will. But if not, I think that what will happen is that Seth Appert, who has been promoted to a assistant, like one of the assistant head coaches, I think that that's what's going to be really important. And he's going to be taking over the power play, I feel like. And if there's struggles on the power play, you don't have Matt Ellis to blame him because I feel like Matt Ellis is going to be more so up in the booth with his coaching where he's going to be. I'm not too sure. We'll see, but I do believe that Seth Appert will be the next Buffalo Sabres head coach. I would not be surprised by that. He has worked with a ton of these players with Rochester. So I think that if anybody is going to bring the Buffalo Sabres back to what they used to be, hockey heaven, it's going to be Lindy Ruff. He's been here from for every decade in the Sabres existence. I think late in the 70s, then and obviously in the 80s he was still playing, and then he coached for the 90s, and then obviously he went into the 2000s and 2010s. Now he's in the 2020s. If this is the team that's going to break this playoff drought, who better than to do it than the great Lindy Ruff? That's all I got. All right. Thank you for everybody who was watching on Facebook or on YouTube, or if you missed any of what I had to say on Depot's Den, you can always listen back to it on demand. I will make sure to get this up on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast, Spotify. I will tweet out a link. I'll put it on Facebook. Just check it out at Evan Depot 2 on Twitter. Thank you guys for listening. You have been great, and I will see you next time. We'll be picking the Bills next time on Depot's Den. We'll see you next time.